What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Survivor Now podcast. My name is Randy Bruce, and today I am joined by two of my wonderful Survivor Now analysts. I'm joined by Ollie and Abraham, and we are here to finally chat about the Survivor Australian news that hit us about 3 to 4 weeks ago. I think it was nearly about, it's getting close to a month ago. Obviously, we had to finish with a lot of the Survivor US coverage that we were dealing with. We had the finale of Survivor 46, so there was a lot going on. But there was a lot of news that came out. Before we get to the Survivor Australian news, Ollie, I'll start with you. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. I mean, obviously, it's really early in the day for me. Like, it's not even like noon yet, but no, I'm fine.
Good morning. Good morning to you all. And Abraham, how are you doing, my friend? Look, Abraham is the person who's here today and has no idea what's going on. Ollie's prepared. Abraham signed on and he was like, I'm not prepared whatsoever.
I'm always ready for Survivor. I'm a little out of sorts, man, because last Wednesday I was prepping for the finale of 46. It was in New York. By this time I was home. Oh, I was at the party. I was already at the party. So this is a little different. I was like, this is Wednesday. What I got? Oh, man, I ain't got nothing to do on Wednesday until you called. And I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's jump on.
Yeah, I mean, there's no more Survivor coverage, but it does not stop us here at Survivor Now. We've got so much off-season coverage planned for you guys, the most off-season coverage that we've ever done, starting today. Feel free to join into our live chat. Joseph is in the chat. 2 AU seasons next year. Let's go. And Gabe is also here. 2 Australian Survivor seasons coming. So we're going to get to all of that. Yes, I know everybody is super excited, specifically us, because our most watched content is our Survivor Australia coverage. So sign us up for 2 seasons. We are ready to go. So this is going to be a shorter podcast today. Obviously, it's not going to be like an hour-long podcast that we have going on, but we're going to take you through everything that we know so far. And trust us, we know just pretty much as you guys do, but we're going to break it all down. We might talk about who we could see being out there. So let me walk you through this. Here's everything we know so far. There are 2 seasons being planned. So everyone wants to talk about the Australia versus America season. We know that they're looking at it to be a shortened season, returning legends from both Survivor AU and Survivor US. It's going to be like a full legend season. It looks like they're filming in September. And then the rumor is this season is going to release first in January. And then for Brains versus Brawn 2, this is our regular Australia newbie season. It's going to be a full-length season, I believe 46 days. Correct me, gentlemen, if I was wrong with that. Film in July. And then this is the one, there's a lot of rumors that I've seen that Australia versus America is releasing in January. But Brains versus Bronze, there isn't a rumor on when it could release. I did see someone say that summer would make the most sense for them to release it next summer, especially because currently Survivor UK is kind of in limbo. Survivor South Africa. I'm so sorry, Ollie. Survivor South Africa is in limbo. So there's nothing in that summer spot, and Australia could do really, it would be really good for them to slide in. So before we get to the actual talking points, because there's a lot of stuff we got to talk about all those rumors and speculations. Ollie, what was your initial take when this news broke? The moment you saw it, what did you think?
I was excited, obviously, because I think Survivor Australia is really kind of proving itself in the community. Like, everyone is slowly kind of converting to the Australian format. So when they were like 2 seasons, absolutely. And then to kind of have that Australia versus America, I was excited because I feel like we've always we've always talked about like getting everyone in from like across the globe like together. We've always talked about like international seasons. So I think Australia kind of saw that. I think Survivor Australia do a really good job at listening to what the fans want and kind of not just emulating it, but kind of just doing the little nods to be like, we hear you. So yeah, I think they're definitely listening to us.
I mean, Abraham, this was just like a couple weeks after Jeff Probst came out and said season 50 is going to be returnees. Survivor Australia then came out and said, all right, hold my beer. We're going to take the Survivor world by storm, just like we have been doing. So what was your initial reaction when you heard this news?
We always look at Australia compared to U.S. So what better way to capitalize on a season that would pit U.S. against Australia? I mean, who wouldn't want to be on that season? But it's still going to come down to, if you're bringing back legends, who's going to actually be somebody that can play Australian Survivor? Now, in my case, do we do like this? Do we bring a Nina back as a legend, but she played for Australia? I'm like, how we do that? So it's going to be pretty interesting to see. I think the cast of whoever comes back to play is going to definitely bridge the gap of being able to watch an American versus an Australian playing the game of Survivor. So I think it was whoever's in the PR department, outstanding timing, outstanding. Now, here's the hard part. Can they pull it off? Because they done threw it out there now. So you got to pull it off.
Well, that's a big thing. A lot of people have been like, oh, we're for sure getting this 2 seasons next year. This is not guaranteed, people. I've heard that this is something that is definite. It is in the works, but it is not guaranteed. And that just comes from like some of my sources. It's all about whether they can get enough people interested. This is a TV show. You have to get you're not just going to ask every single Survivor player who's ever played the game. Like if you're going to have a legendary AU versus US season, you got to get some of the top players back. Can they get enough of the top players, to make this happen? We've got people in the comments.
You know who would make it? You know who would make it spicy? Russell Haynes.
No, no chance. Jenny says Kelly Wentworth, not even mentioning it on her socials, tells me she was the first one contacted. Maybe. Daryl says it better be 26 days at the least.
Oh yeah, it'll be 26 days.
Joseph ripped to the BVB2 icons that won't return for AU versus America. Sorry, I got my throat. I've got a cold going on, and I've got a scratchy throat at the moment, making it difficult to talk. I was happy Australian Survivor wanted to do 2 seasons 1 year before, but pandemic happened. Yeah, really? So, I mean, well said. This is their opportunity. I think a lot of people have been begging. I'll show one more comment here. When I first heard this news, I was and still am super hyped. That was the first thing that stuck out to me. The fact that we could be getting 2 Australian seasons, I was like, we all know how much I love Survivor Australia. I still need to go back and watch a lot of the Survivor Australia seasons because I've seen Champions versus Contenders 2, and then Blood versus Water on. Yeah. So there's still some that I've missed that were really good seasons. But gentlemen, let's get to kind of our first talking point. We already skipped one and talked about what we thought of. Well, not really. Abraham mentioned it. What do we think about U.S. versus Australia? So that's kind of what we touched on at first. But the second thing, who do we feel are locks to represent the United States if this season happens? I mean, Abraham, you said it. If they can pull this off. So who are people that realistically, I'll give you one person in particular. I think Johnny Fairplay is 1,000% going to be involved. We've seen him and his relationship with George. I wouldn't be shocked if George is on another season of Survivor representing U.S. And while you guys answered that, the next question we're answering is who's going to come back for Australia? And then I'll talk about another report that we heard. They've already talked to 4 people, and we'll talk about those 4. Abraham, I'll go to you first. Who could you see? What Survivor legends could you see going over and playing this game?
Well, not so much as calling them Survivor legends, who's going to go over to win? If you're going over to participate, don't go. This Survivor Australia is not a participation trophy game. So if you're going to win, I'll take a Tyson with Tyson's mentality. I would love to see James from China come up out of the
good
woodwork.
shout out. That would be cool.
You know, I mean,
Whoa.
I'm talking about if you're gonna send them, send a squad.
Get Parvati if she's interested. I think you got to get Parvati.
I don't know. You know, time has passed. People have changed. You know, things in their lives have changed. I want somebody that's gonna go over there and say, "Look, I'm still here to play the game of Survivor." You know, so is it going to be one of those situations where you go over there and realize, wait a minute, that thing is hot over there. Because now you're not in the, you got to remember now, if you played and you actually went to Fiji, you're not going back to Fiji. So it's going to be a different location, different environment, different background. So it will be pretty interesting to see. I want them to go get some true people, like they were probably in their early 20s when they played. And now they said, I want some redemption. Those are the players I want.
I mean, you mentioned Tyson earlier, I think before we went on the podcast. That would be really interesting to see Tyson go out. Before Ollie gives his answers, Daryl says, I think Boston Rob would be down. He loves
Have you seen hold
on. God, so I think
have you seen Boston Rob on No Deal Island?
Deal or No Deal Island, yeah.
See, we play too much. That's the problem right now. We would like to see Boston Rob of yesteryear. But you need to look at Boston Rob of Deal or No Deal Island, because that's who you're gonna get. And I'm just telling you what it looks like.
We also have Gabe says, I'd like our first unanimous winner, Earl, out there. Then he says, if AU gets Amanda out of retirement, that one would be a little difficult. I'll tell you that. And then Gary adds in, oh, hell no to fair play. Not a fair play fan. Ollie, what are we thinking? Realistically, who could we get? Maybe like Todd? Todd has been dying to play Survivor again.
Todd was on my list, because I think we spoke to Todd, obviously, on Got Something For You, and we were like, would you want to return, obviously, to 50? And he was like, yeah, I'd happy to get a call. So I think he'd be happy either way. Another person that I have on my list who I think has been gaining a lot of traction anyway with just fans recently, who she could go on 50, she could go on Australian Survivor if asked, is actually Natalie Bolton. She is someone who has been, everyone's kind of been talking about her. She was in the kind of running for second chances. She was in the running for heroes versus villains. She's always been in the mix. She's always been someone that I think we've always heard about. So I'd love to see her go back. I think, kind of to what Abe said, they really need to get some strong players. Like they know it'd be physical. So even people like this is me just saying this, like Chris Underwood, who has been really pushing it physically, and we've seen him go on other shows. Desi Williams, she's done it as well.
That's a good one.
Desi rehabbing her knee. I don't know.
This
if
one,
that's why I was like, but
But I would, Desi going back. Michaela. Oh, I think Michaela be spicy.
Michaela Bradshaw. I'll throw out a wild name while we're throwing out names. I know a lot of people would be like, no, don't bring him back. He's a little bit controversial. Richard Hatch, if you're doing US versus Australia,
no.
Richard Hatch was the original winner of Survivor. For the storyline purposes, I could see it. Ollie, did you have more? Sorry, we might cut you off.
No, to be fair, Jason Bates kind of mentioned someone who I know when she first came off the island, she had no wanting to return, but Lauren Beck. I stan Lauren Beck to a T. I love her. And I think she's always kind of been like, no, but she's someone that could go over there. She's got a big following on TikTok. She's kind of really reintegrated herself within the Survivor community, similar to what Kelly Wentworth does. So could go either way. Chrissy Hofbeck from Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers. I know she's a big name kind of going around, but again, I'm saying these as they could go to Australian Survivor, but there is also 50. This is the thing right now with it. Look. You've got people, they're like, oh, could I be asked for 50? Oh, could I be asked for Australia?
Let's send Wendell back. Hey,
well,
Bryson Wendell.
Well, I mean, like you brought up
good TV. That'd be some good TV right there.
I mean, you brought up a good point, Ollie. So I wanted to touch base before we move to the Australia side of things. And Abraham, I'll go to you for this. Sorry, there was a comment right here from Gabe. Whoever goes on Australia versus US, I don't think Jeff would want them for 50. That is a talking point, and that could be something that holds this and them getting people. is obviously season 50 is going to be such a big season. Abraham, do we think there are going to be castaways who are like, I'm sorry, I have to decline because I want to be on season 50?
No, they both fall up under the CBS umbrella, just different countries. At the end of the day, if you get a chance to be on there, I mean, you basically just writing your ticket to be on 50. Because at the end of the day, if you can compete with Australian Survivor, you come out like a monster to go on returnees.
Yeah, but you don't think Jeff would be petty, though? Because I think I could see Jeff being a little petty.
I mean, it's going to be a lot of – it's not only going to just be Jeff. It's got to be the producers. I mean, at the end of the day, you're putting on a good show. The objective of Survivor is to put on a good show. You don't want to see Australian Survivor, especially when the title is U.S. versus Australia, fail. So at the end of the day, you're trying to put on a good show. So collaboration and working with each other would be in both sides' benefit. Let's just say Kelly Wentworth goes over and wins Survivor U.S. versus Australia. You think she won't be the top pick coming in to 50? And they'd be like, okay.
Well, I mean, like,
Kelly.
You brought up Kelly Wentworth. She did a live with Lauren, and they were talking about, like, would they return? And Lauren was like, oh, yeah, I would love to return for 50. While Kelly Wentworth said she was done with Survivor US. She has with what the game is nowadays, she has no interest in going back. Did not say that about Australia.
Well, because, you know, the new era Survivor is not everybody's cup of tea. I mean, especially if you played in the old era, because everything that you remember about Survivor is based off of the old era. Even 41, when we were getting ready to go out, we were looking at the old thought. We thought that was going to be our era, just carrying on. Now, I just started looking at Game Changers. And you know what I'm frustrated about? We ain't got no name. We don't have any identity. We're just 41. I'm like,
well, this is what we want. We want the identity back, and we'll get to Brains versus Brawn too, and now Australia versus America. Let's get on to our next point here. Who do we feel are locks to represent Australia? Ollie's. Well, first off, before we go to Ollie, here's who we've heard they've reached out to. This is a rumor, and we posted this on our page via an article from Yahoo Lifestyle Australia. So pretty verified source. 4 names that have been approached to represent Australia are 3-time Survivor Australia player and 3-time jury member Shoni, mother Shoni. 3-time Survivor Australia player and wife of Survivor winner Mark Wales, Samantha Gash, or Sam Gash, however you want to say it. Fan favorite from last season, Kirby Bentley, and 2-time Survivor Australia player Simon is who they've reached out to. So Simon, Kirby, Sam, and Shawnee. Ollie, great names, and is there anyone else that kind of sticks out to you?
Because I feel like with Survivor Australia, they are really good at getting big characters. So I could see someone like Chrissy from Blood versus Water possibly going back. Like, she's been doing the stuff with George and Shannon. Someone like Nick, who played in the first reboot season and All Stars. I feel like he's someone that you could put in the mix, and he's always going to be fun. I'm always going to root for my girl Valeria, but I know that's like a long shot, but like that's just me loving my girl Valeria.
What about the Joker?
I was about to say Geordie. Like, Geordie is definitely on there. I would love them to throw a couple of wild cards in there, though, because I feel like what Survivor Australia is good at is like wild cards. And I have Janine on my list. Now, whether she would play. Yeah, because she was the godmother, lest we forget. So, and we never really had the godfather and the godmother come back to settle old scores. So, say they got Golden God back, they could get the godmother back to, you know, have that little thing like what they did try to do with Haley and George. That's just a feat. I'm just putting it out there. And
I'll say, Ollie, if they're getting Kirby back, possibly. Who says they can't go and get Valeria back? I'll just say it like that. A lot of people in the chat are saying Golden God is a lock and George is a lock. Gunnar says, yeah, I swear David said he would like a U.S. versus Australia season. Ronnie adds in, Janine has to come back. She's very well known. And Jenny adds in, Eileen is already pre-gaming in the U.S. on her travels. and I love this comment from Joseph. If USA gets Richard Hatch, Australia gets Christy Bennett. I would love to see Christy play again.
Oh, look. Now you're trying to just tear this whole show up. They're just going to be destructive. You know, it's. I mean, it is amazing that we even having this conversation about having a season where we finally get to see them play against each other. But I'm gonna go ahead and say, if we're doing Australia and we're gonna slide a spot, we might as well bring Nina back.
Yeah.
Would she represent US or would she represent Australia?
I'm gonna say Australia because that's what she played at. I would love to see Nina in US Survivor. I would love to. I don't understand how when you went to Australia before you went to the US. Come on now, Jeff. Let's get back to work now.
Any opinions on the four that I mentioned? Shawnee, Sam, Kirby, Simon. Any surprises there?
No, I think they're the most recent players. I think those are the ones that we remember the gameplay. But at the end of the day, I mean, Australia still has a lot of players that, like all Game of Survivor, we really didn't get a chance to see. Whatever reason. I forgot his name, the one that got hurt, his back got injured. And he didn't end up playing, but he up until that point he played. You know, so
Alex, right? You're talking Alex.
Yeah.
From I think water. Yeah.
I think that we had some challenge pieces in Blood versus Water, so I'm looking forward to see them bring back some other players. But you know what? It's not that many spots. You know, we done racked up and gave up 9-10 spots already. We're running out of spots. So
and it's probably only going to be. Roughly, usually a cast is 24 in Australia. You're probably only looking at 18. Ooh, wrong one. Sorry.
Okay.
Because of the shorter season. Like, what are our thoughts on this from what I heard? Like, a lot of people are saying they're probably going to do 39 days.
Yeah.
But from what I heard, it's going to be shorter than 39 days.
You talking about which one? US or
like 26 to 30 days?
To me, 26 days would put it. They would have to restructure their actual show.
Yeah.
So what do you take out? Australia lets you eat, so you're gonna have some food, so that's not gonna be an issue. I think 26 days they could do it, especially because you're really kind of centering around the theme of the show, which is US versus Australia. So
well, sorry, I was just gonna say, well, I think they're doing that one for budgetary reasons, and then also when you're trying to persuade some of these legends who are up there in age to come out. If you say 46 days, they look at it. Whoa, I'm in my fifth, or I'm almost 50 now. I don't know if I want to be out there. I've already played the game 5-6 times. I don't know if I want to be out there. Unless you're someone like another name we didn't bring up, Aussie. Maybe they could get Aussie to go back out. But I'm so sorry for the cough. But anyway, that's something to talk about. Aussie. It's like maybe maybe they're using that as like a sense of like, hey, come back out. We're not going to make you play 46 days. Ollie, what do you think about the shortened season? Does this ruin kind of the Australia versus American nature of it?
Well, no, because I feel like it's such its own entity. Because if we're going to expect it just to straight away be Australian Survivor, then that's kind of, it's already this like advantage to the Australians. So they would want to try and do it in a way that, you know, kind of just, it takes away anything like there's just an even playing ground. So I could see them doing the 39 days because it's still a long time for both. It would just be if anyone was post 41, that would be the kind of adjustment for them. Or even like just like 34, like just slightly lower. Like I could see that happening just to kind of give them that fairity, but it will still be, to me, it will still be the same season regardless of the length of it. But it's because it's its own, to me, this particular season would be its own entity.
Yeah, so I think I'm with Ollie. This is something special. This has nothing to do with Australia's normal season because everybody's going to tune in for Australia's normal season because it's going to be their players. But I think the hype of what you get for bringing these two epic Survivor series together, because US is long running, the long-standing king. Now, whoever comes out as the victor, that's going to be a different story. So, but I think that's what we're looking for. Will Australian players, are they more strategic? Are they more physical? Will they be able to manage the challenges? You know, we're looking and always comparing, US is not as long, it's not as hard. We're looking at Survivor, it's like, Australia, they going for it. Now, who don't want to see that? So I think that's in its own little cocoon. And also the way they're releasing it, it's not together. So we're not waiting for it. And who wouldn't be ready to see that?
Yeah.
Who remember John Robert, the poker player? Who that dude was that?
We don't need John Robert.
Look, where's John?
I'd rather have Courtney, obviously. But I was also going to say, because what it also does is it opens up to the wider spectrum of, like, we've got South Africa, which is an amazing like franchise, UK, hopefully. But and another one, I know it's out of left field, but Turkey. And then
you got New Zealand, and then you have Survivor Quebec and Survivor. I've been getting a lot of shit online from fans because I posted that thing about all the winners.
Yeah,
I've had a lot of people. Where's Survivor Mexico winners? Where's Survivor Quebec winners? And so I hear you guys. I read all the comments. I hear each and every one of you. But I love what you're saying, Ollie. Like, I think I can't remember if it was you and I or myself and someone else, but I had a chat with someone like off screen one time where I'm like, I would love Survivor to turn into an international game where was it you that we were talking about? I would love if players start whatever the word is, like mashing up every single season. Like we have some Australia players playing Survivor Quebec, and we have some Survivor US playing Survivor UK to an extent. I'm not saying every single season.
For me, in its own entity. It would be the special season. Like I'm not sat here being like, I want to see like Americans play South Africa. I want to see like Turkish play. Like I don't want that. Like I want it in a specific its own entity. I don't want like season 40 several.
Yeah. Okay. I hear you there. And I was just thinking about this the other day. I've been making a lot of, I'm sorry to everyone, but I've been making a lot of sports references. So anyone who doesn't care about sports, I'm so sorry. But I was just thinking about this. I would love like every couple of years, I don't know, do it every 2 years or every 4 years. You'd probably have to stretch it out more. So every like 5 years or so, do an all-star season. And it can be all-stars from all over the globe. One special season. It's almost like every year you get the all-star game in different sports. I like that. Make a spinoff series. But every year you get an all-star game in sports. So maybe in like Survivor, every 5 years, you can do Survivor All-Stars. And you just bring the best players that you have in the world, like 3 from America, 3 from Quebec, 3 from, UK, 3 from Australia. And it's just a full All-Stars cast. I think that would be really cool to see.
Dude, I was sitting there looking through the Survivor players from yesteryear, and I'm like, it's a lot of players that played the game of Survivor. CBS, I'd like to give a shout out to CBS on if they could ever do this one right here. If you could bring every Survivor player from every season back and have a season finale, and we come there for a season finale in LA, that would be great. All the players return for one epic.
Oh, you're not saying a Survivor season. You're saying just like a party, like a season finale.
Yeah.
I thought you meant a Survivor season. Like, wow, we have over 1,000 players competing.
Think how epic that would be to be able to see the players that you haven't seen in decades come back and say, hey, y'all, I'll come there for a party. We'll come there to crown. You know what? Season 50. I know we get a little off track, but season 50, CBS, you should look at bringing back every Survivor player to crown season 50. That's epic.
Oh, my Lord. Ollie adds in the chat. So, Eric Abraham for U.S. versus Australia.
That's what I'm talking about right there. That's
we will be talking about Survivor 50 in a separate podcast coming out this offseason. We have a whole podcast. We're going to break down Survivor 50. It'll probably happen within the next week and a half or so. But gentlemen, before we wrap this up, we've talked about Australia versus America. Look at the bottom of the screen. There's a whole nother season to talk about. Thoughts on Brains versus Brawn 2. So I've seen 50-50. I've seen fans excited, mostly because, yes, we're getting a whole newbie season. We're not just getting a legend season, because obviously Survivor Australia has been known to do a lot of returning seasons. And at times, fans think Survivor Australia has done too many returning seasons.
Yeah,
we're still getting an all newbie season. This is going to be all newbies. They've made it Brains versus Brawn 2. I saw some fans disappointed in that because they said we can't think of any other. We can't do a David versus Goliath. We can't do an All-Stars or something. Or obviously that would be returning. But Ollie, I'll go to you first. Disappointed when you heard it was going to be another Brains versus Brawn?
Not disappointed, but I think I can understand the fans' reaction to it just because obviously it's like there's been 2 champions versus contenders. It's like we're going like I think I don't want them to go into this loophole of recycling themes.
Titans versus Rebels 2 coming out.
Yeah, like exactly. like Australian Survivor has cemented itself as an amazing franchise. You can play with that more. Don't be afraid to go out of the box more and kind of look at it more. Like even look at what like the US has done with those things like Millennials versus Gen X, or like just examples. Don't be afraid to not have to do Brains versus Brawn 2. Like I think it's going to be interesting, obviously, but would I like to see something different? Yes, because they're not afraid to do themes.
Yeah, I mean, they just did something different. Yes, you could say it was Champions versus Contenders 3, but Titans versus Rebels was a name that we had never heard before, and it's going to stick out. Like when you think about, I think most of the people thought Titans versus Rebels was one of the best Australian seasons. We saw some incredible storylines play out, and it's easier to decipher the seasons when it's different names and stuff. You can go back and be like, oh my gosh, I love Titans versus Rebels. If in 10 years' time, if we have Brains versus Bronze 4, how am I going to distinguish the 4 Brains versus Bronze seasons? Abraham,
think about 41 through 46. We're still trying to figure that one out.
Yeah, exactly. Abraham, you still haven't seen Titans versus Rebels, have you?
I haven't seen Titan versus Rebels, but I've seen the last 3 seasons of Australian Survivor, and I don't care what the name is. It did not disappoint. The name didn't make a difference. When you start playing, the title just kind of, okay, we know what you're supposed to be, but now it's time to play. And I mean, they played epic. When they did Blood versus Water,
that was
epic. So at the end of the day, a title is great. You got it, but ultimately it's going to be the players, you know, and then seeing the style of play, the challenges and stuff. That's what makes the game of Survivor. I don't care what the name of it is. So, and you could pick a name, and then if you pick a name that don't live up to the name, and you'll be like, oh man, we don't pick the crappy name, but we still looking at the players anyway. The players are what makes the game. We love the names because it allows us to be able to differentiate between the seasons. I don't think, you know, as long as they don't do a 3, we're good with this. As long as it's Brains versus Bronze 2,
well, I think that's the main thing is like Gunnar adds in. It's sad that we don't get a new theme, but it's a great theme at least. So I think that's the reaction that I've gotten from a lot of the fans is like, we're okay with it. Don't do it again.
Yeah. We don't want to see a 3. Then if you come with a 3, that means you have lack of creativity and production and fire your whole staff.
Yep.
I'm just saying.
I think they should go back to locations.
I would love it. Yeah.
I love it.
Are they filming in
they're in why am I drawing a blank? Is it
I am aware that because this thing, I don't know if Australian Survivor in conjunction with Benny J Productions. If they are, then there is a location that they could do, which I haven't seen any other Survivor season in terms of like UK, Australia, South Africa do. So that could be an option.
You got to look at the weather, the time of year, filming. Australia's weather is opposite of our weather.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's opposite of UK's weather. I know it's opposite of US's weather. So those things have to factor in, and they got to be somewhere tropical. Like I think.
Where have they been filming? Why am I drawing?
They're always
Samoa. I kept thinking Borneo, and I'm like, I know it's not Borneo. Yeah, Samoa.
Yeah, we would love if any U.S. Australia would travel and move other places, but going to Fiji, seeing what it takes to move that crew around the world and get logistically set up and lighting, and I mean, it's so much stuff that goes on behind the scenes. It just economically, it's just best to keep it where it's at. Now, for all you future Survivor players for the U.S., I'm gonna tell you what somebody told me one time. Coconuts don't reproduce that quick.
How are you gonna? We're here talking about Australia, and Abraham's got to talking about coconuts on Survivor US.
So that's the same thing with Somalia, because what we think is plentiful is good for the first group. After that, it doesn't grow that fast. You don't get a coconut in a year where you can use it by the time you film it again. You like, So what y'all gonna eat? So 46 probably was starving anyway, but they had water. They'd be all right.
That's why Abraham is our Survivor US expert. Wait, I got some chats here. Hold on. I love this comment right here from Gabe. Theme doesn't really matter. It's cast that has to deliver. And then right here from Dismachia, I appreciate how themes lead to more diverse type casting. Would love to see more locations. As beautiful as Samoa is. Gentlemen, we got one more thing to talk about here on this podcast, and that's, with this all being said, we're looking at possibly two seasons of Survivor Australia next year, which we haven't had. We had one time, right? Remind me, in Survivor Australia history. I believe it happened early on. Correct me if you know in the chat. I believe it's happened once. But is this a model that Survivor Australia should use moving forward? Try to get to 2 seasons a year, as popular as it's been, or should they just stay with their 1 season a year that they've been doing? Abraham, what are we thinking?
Now, I think Survivor, and again, I don't know their marketing on their side and what's going on, but for me, as a U.S. watcher, it fits. It's like it's like football, basketball, baseball. We may be fans of all of them, but we're more a fan of one than the other, and that other one's sacrifice. So it's kind of difficult to try to balance out whatever their favorite show may be. And now you're trying to balance it with, do I look at U.S. Survivor? Do I stay up late? I mean, it's just, I think their time slot for their time of year, when it comes on, all works. And that goes into marketing too. What's your marketing brand and what you're trying to reach? They're trying to reach the Australian viewers. They're not trying to reach the U.S. viewers. We go and look at it because we're so entwined with this Survivor community. We want to see their show as well. It's no different than us watching the one in South Africa, someone different watching UK. We still have to find a way to watch it where they're actually looking at their actual marketing over there. So we'd have to get somebody on from Australia, like a George, and say, hey, what's the marketing strategy for that show? But for us, I think once is great because we have 2 of our own seasons. So we have one in the fall. We got one. We just finished up one here now, just before the summer starts. Now we kind of got a rest of it. If you don't miss it, it's going to grow stale. Yeah, I like it when we don't have it. So when it comes back, it's like, oh man, Australian Survivor's back on. I'm ready for it because it's a certain type of Survivor, but I didn't get it for 9 months. Even though I'm looking at Survivor, that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Survivor's fine with 1 season a year, just because it's a longer season. Like, it's almost double the same amount as US, like in terms of days and episodes. So it would be a lot more for them to do. And I just think how they've set it up works. Like, I think it's a really good setup for them. Like Abe said, they know their time, and then it just allows the rest of the Survivor community to fill in the blanks as well.
More is not always better.
Yes.
I'll say that. A few last comments here before we end this thing. Australian Survivor should stick to 1 season a year. It makes for a longer season. Budget would be too big for 2 seasons with their format. Gabe adds in, I'd like it to be 2 seasons a year. Next year's network finally experimenting. If it's successful, that will happen. Definitely interesting to see how it works out. Ronnie says, I would like Australia millennials versus Gen X versus Gen Y. You don't have to be an athlete or a scientist to get on. I love this comment. Hear me out. Survivor boomers versus Zoomers.
I would kill to see that. I'd be like,
I think
that's
2 seasons a year. 2 seasons a year for Survivor Australia would work if they got on Paramount Plus. Right now, I don't think they have the budget.
Yeah, that's our side, and I swear, all of you in the UK, but the US, if you don't have a plus to something, you just can't see what you want to look at. Everything is like, I got regular cable TV, I'm paying for it, but in order to see Disney, it's got to be Disney Plus. It's got to be Premiere Plus. It's got to be Hulu.
Are you saying the UK doesn't have Disney Plus? Because Ollie definitely.
No, we do. We don't have Paramount Plus though.
Yeah, but I mean, it's always you pay for one thing and then it's a plus. So I think if you want to get viewers, you need to make it a convenience to viewers because this plus stuff is killing us. It's another $4.99. I'm like, I don't have that. I'm broke.
You're basically paying for cable at this point. Abraham, we got to talk about that sometime on your podcast. Old school finance.
Old school finance. That's why I ain't got. Hey, look, that's why I ain't got it.
Well, that's going to do it for. I'm pretty sure we covered everything in terms of Survivor Australia. What we could expect next season for America versus Australia and Brains versus Brawn. Ollie, anything else you want to say before we get off here? Oh, well, now you just left an awkward silence.
Ollie was like, "No, man, I'm not even."
All right, goodbye, everybody. No, I'm kidding. Abraham, anything else you want to say?
No, I'm not messing with y'all no more. That's it.
I'll leave you with this comment, and I'll say nothing, and I'll just take it as the biggest compliment in the world to feed my ego. Randy, you would be on the beauty tribe.
What the world?
Thank you. And with that, we will catch you guys next time. We've got a lot more stuff this off season planned. I'm just going to leave this comment on screen. We've got a lot more stuff planned out for you this off season. I expect Ollie to take it down. Yep, I knew that was coming. Not next Wednesday. Sorry. Maybe next Wednesday we might do the Survivor 50 podcasts, because we do have that coming up where we will draft and talk about realistically who could end up on season 50. Obviously, we're looking very far ahead because there's still years to go until we get to that point. Yeah, definitely Abraham.
That's what I'm talking about. Still working.
Yeah, we have to. If we don't say Abraham, he'll leave the show. And then in 2 weeks' time, on June 12th, we will be rewatching Survivor Game Changers this summer. Myself, Will, and Kara will be doing the rewatch. So I'm someone, I've seen the season once. I don't remember much from it other than the big moments. Will is like a Survivor historian. He can pick out everything that happened that season. He has great memory. And then Kara has never seen the season. So
Really?
We've got, very shocking. We have 3 different dynamics going in. But this is how it works. It's going to air Wednesday night starting June 12th at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So go ahead, grab your family, get them in the living room. You're used to watching Survivor on Wednesday nights. Get everyone around 8 p.m. Eastern time. Watch Survivor Game Changers, 1 episode a week, just like you would if Survivor was airing. And then flip over to YouTube, and we will recap the episode, breaking everything down. It's always fun. It's always kind of less serious because it's not in season. This is something that already happened. It's usually a lot of fun. So that is going to be our summer rewatch series, but who knows what's on the horizon for our off season. I know Ollie and the gang have got something for you. We're talking about possibly doing some stuff. So stay tuned. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to get notified whenever we go live. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, be sure to leave us a 5-star rating. We really do appreciate it. We will catch you guys